Hi guys, welcome to the chat. Hopefully nothing is wrong tonight. And you can hear me, you can see me, and everything looks okay. Please let me know if you can hear me. But welcome to the chat, guys. Let me go ahead and just acknowledge most of you. I'm going to start with Andronicus. Hopefully, I got that right. Hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you tonight. Ivana Veltimer. Hello, welcome to the chat. I love what you say. I will go ahead and go back and read that one. So I'm coming back to that. Daima, hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you as well. I also see Kat. Hello, welcome to the chat. Deb, hello, welcome. Glad to see you as well. I'm gonna keep going. You guys are having such an awesome conversation. My goodness. Courtney Frazier, hi, welcome to the chat. Mel Kep, hello, long time no see, welcome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Deb, for confirming that for me. Randy L, hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you tonight. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for confirming that you can hear, and I'm so glad you love my channel. Thank you for being here. Ronald Zion, hello, welcome. Sun Kiss Dark and Dainty01, hello, welcome. Stephanie E, welcome to the chat. Glad to see you as well. Linda Lonsbury, hello. I don't remember seeing you in the chat box, so welcome, welcome. And Raymond Vincent Garcia Jr., hello, welcome. Long time no see for you as well. All right, guys, so I think I got everyone for right now. This conversation tonight is something. So, in preparation, because I've kind of been pretty low key this week. A lot of you know that I have a concussion, so I'm healing. And because of that, I've had to wear these and all my other fashion glasses that can block my eyes and give me a little bit of tint, you know? And so while I'm recovering, though, I have a lot of time at times to process what I want to talk about next on the channel. And so I got a lot of emails from some of you and from people who see me in my office and from people who see me on other social media platforms. And I was asked about intuition one day. And I think I may have gotten around like 20 emails that spoke about not being able to perceive or kind of tune into or zone in on red flags, and not just red flags from strangers, guys, but red flags from family members. Sometimes I think we're a little bit naive to family because we are socially constructed. We are socially influenced to believe that family is everything. And if that's the case, then family doesn't go through deception and harm and hurt and pain and toxicity and unhealthy boundaries and other kinds of poor dynamics. That is wrong, right? That perception is wrong. There's so many people in this world who have family issues, and some have, such deep family issues that they have to walk away. That's the only way that they can have a healthy life and a healthy mindset, right? So when you move that social influence of the idea that family is everything, then you can kind of look at your family and say, wait a minute, there's some stuff off here. And my intuition, my internal being, my gut, my hunches, they're all telling me something is wrong. And then, how do I conceptualize that now that I intuitively see and I feel that something is wrong in this picture? How do I maneuver my way out of this, or how do I survive in this? How do I manage it? And I think that's one of the most important pieces of tonight's discussion. Now, I'm going to try to wrap up around 8:15 Eastern time, so hold me to that. If I go over 8:15, let me know, guys. Okay, I see some people. Yeah, thank you so much, Deb. Thank you. Yes, healing every day. I feel a little bit better. There are times in my sessions this week, I had to, usually I see about 60, 65 people a week. 15 Monday, 15 Tuesday, 15 Wednesday. It goes like that until I see about 65 people or less, a little less. This week I saw only 45 because I had to cancel, nodding was really hard for me this week. That's the very thing I need to do in sessions to let my clients know that I hear you. I couldn't do that this week. And taking these off for like a half a second, okay? I just get such bad headache pain. So Deb, thank you so much for that. And for the rest of you, you've been so compassionate and so sweet. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I see somebody else that signed on. Temporary, hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to see you as well. Says, I think knowledge is just the foundation and we have already evolved so much. I very much agree. Let me comment on that really quickly before I jump into the content here. I think you're right. So the way that I discuss when I'm teaching or I'm training or I'm leading seminars, and I've spoken about intuition before in the past. When I talk about this topic, I say, look, knowledge is the foundation, right? We all have to have a certain level of knowledge. As soon as we're born into the world, we start developing knowledge because of things that we hear, see, smell, touch, taste. All of our senses are pulling in all this information for us. That's the foundational knowledge of who we are, right? We develop that concrete knowledge. Then, right, when we end up going to school, then we learn numbers and we learn letters and sentencing and how to write and how to type, and we keep adding to our knowledge pool. But on top of knowledge comes that innate, quick, immediate, natural piece of who we are, and that's called intuition. And when knowledge and intuition join hands, it's a beautiful thing. And that's what good therapists are made out of. And that's what deep, smart, educated, intuitive people are made of. It's that combination of the foundation, knowledge, and intuition together. And that's the way I like to discuss intuition. Now, here's another way to think of intuition. And I think it's pretty concrete. I think it's basic. It's the unconscious and the conscious being pulled together. Intuition is the conscious and the unconscious being pulled together. It's that middle piece that pulls together the unconscious and the conscious mind. Because there's pieces of us, right, that consciously experience everyday life. So let's say, for example, let's say you have a mother who's a narcissist, you have a father who's a psychopath, right? You have two unstable parents, and every time you sit down to have a conversation with them, you find yourself feeling uneasy. Now, the conscious part of your mind says, I have two really unstable parents. They're probably going to put me in a bind somewhere. I'm going to be uncomfortable. They're going to make me feel some kind of uncomfortability, some pain, right? We're going to get into an argument. Something always happens between us. So that's the conscious mind. The unconscious mind, right, which is kind of like our subconscious, it kind of lays beneath the surface of everything that we do. That unconscious piece of who we are says, this is not a good idea. You shouldn't be sitting here with your parents. You should not be allowing this to happen. You're probably going to get hurt again. They're probably going to say some things that's going to offend you. That's the unconscious, intuitive piece of who you are. It's pulling together the unconscious and the conscious pieces. I hope that makes sense. So that's a good way to think about it. Now, gut feelings, hunches. Sometimes I'll use the word, and my field uses the word clinical intuition, because even therapists have to go off of intuition. We can't always go off of what we know. These books here, okay, these kind of books here that teach us how to live, think, and breathe, including my very own book, right, is wonderful to have. The issue is this: books only give us but so much knowledge. They cater to that knowledge foundation, right, that we talked about a couple minutes ago, but it doesn't add to my intuition. So sometimes we as therapists, we have to use clinical intuition to understand what's going on with our clients. But that those hunches, those gut feelings, that intuitive sense that something's off, it always tends to be quick and immediate. Like the minute you step foot into a situation or you're approached, you get that instant, wait a minute, something's off here, right? Or if a family member calls you and you hear their voice on the answer machine, you may get that automatic dip in your stomach maybe, or your heart rate starts beating because intuitively something's not right here. We're going to either fight if I answer this call, or maybe you feel like you don't call me any other time. Why are you calling me now? Whatever the situation in your family, that person just being on your voicemail or sitting in front of you can really impact you in a negative way. So intuition is quick and immediate. It's also instinctual and natural, and it's an innate inclination. It's an innate piece of who you are. Sadly, intuition is usually unexplainable, right? Because you can't just, in our material, concrete, evidence-based, scientific world that we live in, you can't just say to someone, that's a bad person over there. Well, what if that person does a lot of volunteering? They go to church all the time. They raise their kids well. They're rich. They always come out and present themselves a certain way to the public. How do you know that's a bad person? I don't see any signs of a bad person, right? But your intuition may be saying, red flag, something's wrong here. So intuition tends to be hard to explain. And then it also tends to cause other people to quickly doubt you because it's so quick. Sometimes our intuition is working much quicker than our mind, much quicker than our heart. And that's the good part about intuition. All right, let me go to the chat box, guys, because I want to make sure I'm not missing any wonderful things that you guys are saying. Felicia42 full, hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you as well. So let me look at this, guys. So temporary says, something that's holding me back personally is not really anybody else, because I already know the cards I'm dealing with. Financial struggles can prevent you from being healthy, but follow that. Hold on, there's another piece of this. There's another piece of that. Where did it go? Oh, goodness, temporary. I can't see. Okay, so I'm going to pull from this because I can't see the other piece of this. So what you're saying is that, there's a financial struggle that prevents you from being healthy. There are some families where there is financial abuse, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, just a little bit, and traumatic bonding or trauma bonding, you can call them either or, where intuition is essential in those cases. When you have a family that functions in an abusive way or functions in a dysfunctional way, your intuition has to be up to speed, because you're going to need to rely on your intuition to help you understand why that abuse is happening, where that abuse may be happening, right? And how it's impacting you. Because sometimes it's hard to prove financial abuse, and Deb and Temporary probably can relate to this the most. It's hard to prove financial abuse. And so your intuition is going to tell you a lot about that situation. I'm coming back to that, so stay tuned. Stay tuned. Ronald Zion says, I recently went to a family reunion where I received maximum dishonor and disrespect. Yeah, I'm so sorry you had to experience that, Ronald Zion. Let me tell you, once you make a stand, and this is really hard for people who are dealing with toxic families, toxic relationships. Once you make a stand and you say, okay, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like who you are. You're not going to disrespect me that way. I'm not going to deal with this complex, dysfunctional family unit. Whatever you end up saying or you end up doing that creates a boundary, just be ready for the reality that you're going to be shunned. And a family reunion is a great place for that to happen, Sometimes it's really hard to say, I'm not going to family reunions, and then you get that invitation and you're like, okay, I'll go. My niece is there and I want to see my niece, or my grandma's there and I love my grandma. Then you go and then you're sorry. Family reunions are awful. I hate them. I don't like them. I'm sorry. I'm a therapist. I have tools, techniques, knowledge. I have lots of intuition. I'm still not going to a family reunion. No way. Oh, I love what Deb says. Deb says, Tamara, 60 patients a week, and you make time for us too. Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. And yes, absolutely. You're welcome, and thank you for that. Yeah, I love my work, and I think coming on YouTube and giving you guys tools and talking with you and getting to know you and connecting with you really does empower me for the next week of 60 something clients I have to see. So it's spiritual motivation, I think, right? Just knowing that I'm doing something outside of clinical work. So I think we're all blessed in this. At least I hope so. Okay. Okay, so hi Cherries Jubilee. I almost missed you. I almost went back to Deb's comments. So hello Cherries Jubilee. Welcome to the chat. Glad you came tonight. Says what you're listing as the unconscious pieces would be the fear and anxiety that would mount every time I had to go home for happy holidays. Yeah, absolutely. There you go, Deb. It's that it's that feeling of like, oh, something is like telling me not to do this, and I don't know how to conceptualize this. Is this my fear and anxiety, or is this my intuition saying don't go? And sometimes it's hard to tease that apart, you know? It really is. It's hard to tease apart what's intuition versus fear versus anxiety. It just gets so choppy and so difficult to piece together. Raymond Vincent Garcia Jr. says, I used to think, feel, and say family means everything. My family encouraged toxic behaviors, and I always felt it was wrong to do toxic behaviors, but my family made it seem like it was okay and normal. Yes, absolutely. Now, this is a little bit of a side note from the topic of intuition, but let me say most dysfunctional and unhealthy families function in one or two ways. One, they either see the dysfunction and they normalize it because they don't want to change or feel they can't change, or two, they're just so blind that they can't see the damage that they continue to perpetuate throughout generations. And so that toxic family dynamic stays, right? Because they're either too blind to see it, or they see it and they cover it because that's what they're used to dealing with. That's a really sad reality. It really takes a very intuitive family member, which I would hope would be us, right? Those of us who are talking about this tonight. It really takes an intuitive family member to say, wait a minute, I'm not going to do this again, or I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life, or I will not have you give me dirty looks, disrespect me, harm me, hurt me, and expect that I'm going to come to next year's family reunion, right? So intuition kind of, it kind of guides you a little bit, you know? Okay. I'm so going to learn to bring water at some point. I always do this. Okay. All right. Linda Lonsberry, hello. Welcome to the chat. I don't know if I welcomed you. Says, I have resentment from adult stepkids that don't want me in the family. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's a common theme. Believe it or not, Linda, I had 5 parents this week who are step parents. It's not working out, and our vision, right, is often this is going to be wonderful, we're going to come together, we're going to be a new family, we're going to blend, we're going to, and that happens for some people, but for the majority of people it doesn't happen. And so it sounds like that's what's happening to you, Linda. I'm sorry to hear that. That's a tough dynamic. Julie, hello, welcome to the chat. Says, I agree. I have strong intuition. Yes, we're going to get into that in like 2 minutes. One Love, hello, welcome to the chat. Says, yes, intuition to me is the Holy Spirit. Oh, yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Pay attention to your intuition. Intuition will keep you safe from harm. You will know that you will know that you know. Blessings to you all. Very nice comment. Thank you for that, One Love. I agree with that. I often tell people the same thing, but I also tell them intuition is a spiritual guide. It is for those of us who are of the Christian faith, right? It's God, it's Jesus, it's the spiritual realm of things, trying to give us some insight into things. For those of us who are spiritual and we're not religious, right? It's that intuitive piece of who we are. It's a spiritual connection to the things that we can't see. Intuition is very powerful. Now, let me highlight this, jumping back into the content. Traumatic bonding, and you guys may grab onto this, so let me know if you have questions about this. Traumatic bonding truly cannot exist when intuition is sharp. So I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to break it down. Traumatic bonding within a family and a relationship cannot exist if intuition is sharpened, because intuition is our ability to make sound decisions based on what we're sensing is truth, right? Intuition is a part of us that's sharpened, right? It sharpens our reality, It sharpens our perception of reality. Because a lot of times, if we're just going by knowledge, we're going to miss a lot of stuff. Because there's a lot of unspoken language under the surface, from eye contact to body language to what you don't say to what you say. And so all of that functions, all of that is important to take in, not just what we're saying to each other. So intuition sharpens our reality and our perception of reality. It also helps to highlight social cues, our intuition, right? What somebody is saying when they're not talking, what somebody's saying when they're looking at you. And it also helps us to decipher between truth or fiction. That's why in some crime investigation shows, you see where, let's say, for example, the main character of the crime investigation show that you may be watching, they're asking a criminal all these questions and drilling them and trying to get to the truth. But they sit there in front of this criminal and then they start talking not about the evidence, not about the blood, not about the hair that they found or the skin that they found, but now they're starting to talk from here, and they start targeting that criminal with knowledge of things, and really trying to meet that criminal where that criminal is just by their intuition. That is what intuition is. It says, okay, I have the knowledge, but then I can veer off and I can talk to you because I know you know what I'm talking about, and I know you know what's going on. It's that common knowing. It's so cool how that works. And let me just say, that works in therapy as well. There are many sessions where I am, sitting in really deep traumatic families, situations where the family is arguing and they're fighting and they're upset. And if I just kind of let them talk and engage and I kind of fade into the background a little bit, I get a chance to kind of sense what's going on between them, and I can communicate with them based on that alone. And it's often right. And so that's intuition. If you're in a trauma bond or you're in traumatic bonding, it's going to be really hard to ignore that abuser and what that abuser is doing to you. And that may be an adult parent, a parent of an adult child, excuse me. It might also be a cousin, a father, a sibling, right? Or any kind of other relationship you're having. It's really difficult to suppress what you know is happening to you in that trauma bond when your intuition is sharp. Because your intuition is always going to go off, right, when you communicate with that abusive person. Traumatic bonding is basically the idea that this person has two different sides to them. One side is nice, the other side's abusive. But because I'm so interconnected to them, I would rather see the good and not the bad. And so therefore, I ignore the bad side of that person and I really cling to the good. And that creates that toxic trauma bond. And so when your intuition is sharpened, though, that toxic trauma bond breaks apart because it's hard for you to play a game. It's hard for you to lie. It's hard for you to cover things, right? So that's a really cool way to look at intuition. It really does help us to separate from codependency, traumatic bonding, unhealthy bonds, because every time we connect with that unhealthy person, family member, whatever, our intuition says, nope, wrong direction. And eventually you're going to drop out. Eventually you're going to walk away. Also, too, before I go back to the chat box, you might want to think of intuition too as appearing in your world in various ways. So here's how intuition can appear in your life. One is being in an immediate situation and getting like these red flags and these emotions and feelings, these gut feelings that aren't okay, right? They're uncomfortable. That's one way. Another way research suggests is through dreams. Our intuition can really trigger some dreams for us and kind of give us some prophetic dreams as well. I've had them in the past growing up. I used to have a lot of prophetic dreams growing up. Or what would happen to me is I would have a real life experience and then I would go to sleep. And then that dream would kind of help me kind of dissect my real life experience. It was very interesting. So that used to happen to me as a teen, and you may be experiencing that as well. So it can come through dreams. Your intuition can always also show up in your life through meditation and prayer, right? Kind of how you engage in that process. Another way is during times of intense pain, stress, grief, and loss. for some reason, intuition shows up when we need it the most. And so sometimes trauma, grief, loss, intense pain, shock, confusion, all of that can really kickstart your intuition, and you can become really sharp and really on. And I don't know why. Research doesn't really tell us why, but my clinical understanding is, most human beings want to swim, they don't want to sink. And so when you're right in the clutches of pain, grief, loss, sorrow, whatever trauma bonds, codependency, your intuition kicks on, and it may kick on overdrive. So that's another way that intuition can show itself in your life. And also when reasoning isn't enough. Because sometimes I think we rely on our foundational knowledge of the world, science, and all of that stuff. But sometimes that comes to an end, and we're sitting there like, well, wait a minute, there's still more to this puzzle, isn't there? And so that's when intuition kicks in as well. Okay. All right, let me go to the chat box. We're going to conclude in a little bit, guys. I want to see what you're saying, answer your questions, all of that good stuff. Mel Kep says, every time my abusive stepfather talked to me about doing anything or going anywhere, I just know that he will try to manipulate me to give him money. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Malkep. You're talking about the whole financial abuse. Sorry about that. I don't want to confuse you guys, so I'm going to skip over that. Hello, I'm going to come back to you though, Melkep. I'll try. Awake and peaceful. Hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to see you. Says, hey, Miss Tam, and hey, Miss Tamara, and everyone. I'm currently in a back and forth phase. I know what I'm experiencing, but still living with my mom. I feel like I keep getting pulled back into toxicity. Absolutely. So here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting in that kind of a dynamic. It's really hard to separate from a family member when you keep getting sucked back in. So you really want to try to figure out as best you can, when can I gain some separation so my ability to separate is able to occur. Because it's kind of like, being in a romantic relationship or a marriage, and your husband or your wife is the abuser, and yet you want a divorce, and you're not close, but you're living in the same house. It's a little bit difficult to feel that separation and get that healing process. So maybe it might be helpful, awake and peaceful, to ask yourself, when can I actually make a break so that I can get out of this toxicity? Or so that I can at least build some boundaries or build some separation between us, So that might be helpful. Okay. Let me keep going. Sun-kissed Dark and Dainty 01 says, I just learned that my toxic relatives are still trying to use me as a scapegoat after 4 years of no contact. Oh yeah, you got to keep in mind that when you go no contact, that doesn't mean that their toxicity ends. That just means your involvement in their toxicity ends, right? So they're going to still be the toxic, dysfunctional people that they are. Don't be surprised. They're still stuck in that. Thankfully, you're not in that. That's the good part. Awake and Peaceful still talking about mom and says it's like a push and pull. Oh yeah. She keeps inviting me to get coffee and food, but I feel like it's love bombing because we still have unresolved issues. Yeah, it probably is love bonding. Oh my goodness. I need to go to bed. I swear. It is probably love bombing. That's what I'm trying to say. You're probably right about that. There's also this unhealthy dynamic that happens in relationships like that, awake and peaceful, where the abuser does all these hurtful, mean things, but the only way they know how to resolve things is by giving you things and praising you and being positive all around you. It's kind of like a selfish way of saying, get over it, because I'm over it. Aren't you over it? And I just think that is the worst kind of abuse, because it says, I don't care about your feelings. I'm going to use my feelings, my mindset to change this whole thing. And hopefully you'll follow me. And that's not good. That's not good. Ivana, I think it's Ivana. I'm sorry if I'm messing that up. Ivana. Veltmeyer says, Tamara, I survived, narcissist or sociopath, which put me on disability. How long on average do people heal from CPTSD? Wow. Okay. So this is unrelated to intuition, but I'll go ahead and answer this question. First of all, I'm very sorry to hear that. That's awful. Ooh. So, complex PTSD. Can most people heal from? I'm going to start here. Can most people heal from PTSD? Yes. Does PTSD sometimes get re-triggered if another trauma occurs? Yes. Can PTSD come back up even if I'm way into my elder years and I've been away from the trauma for a long time? Yes, absolutely. But complex PTSD is just what it is. It's complex or it's chronic. And so the healing process, there's going to be some mountains, some valleys, some twists and turns. You may cycle back at some point and then you may feel healed again. And then you may feel healed and never cycle back again. So I would look at complex PTSD as a process, not necessarily how long does it last, but more so it's a whole process, and that whole process could take a very long time. I think that's more of a healthy way to look at this. See PTSD as an entire process. It's a journey rather than it's something that I need to arrive at to heal, or I need to get to there so that I can heal and be whole again. It truly is just a process, and that process may have tons and tons of, you know, boundaries and walls and things, So that might be. I don't know if that's helpful, but that's the best way that I could explain CPTSD and healing. Okay, let me keep going, guys. Well, Andronicus, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, said, my dad told me one day as a child that society's rules were silly. He was basically saying he just did whatever he wanted to. Yeah, absolutely. And somebody that says society's rules are silly, you may want to look at them a second time because I think we all know that sometimes rules are very silly and they don't make sense sometimes, and they apply to some people and not to others, and then it's confusing. And, so societal's rules can be silly. So I get that. And I think we all get that. But you might still want to look at a person twice when they say that, because that may say, hey, I'm a sociopath and I do whatever I want to do when I want to do it. And that means I don't pay attention to boundaries, even societal ones. So. Okay. Yeah. Rachella, hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you. Says the dirty looks are so prominent, gets tiring. Why do they give the dirty looks? Well, again, because I think we're intuitive creatures, right? And so sometimes those dirty looks are kind of like that innate part of who we are on the inside telling us, I don't like you. And you may even give that dirty look in response to say, I don't like you either, and not even know you're doing it. So I think the dirty looks for most people tend to be unconscious, and they come from that unconscious part of who we are. But then there are some people who do it intentionally, and it is so sickening. I hate it. I hate it. All right, guys, let me tell you what intuition, how do I want to put this? I don't want to confuse you. So I'm going to put it this way. What happens to you when you are in the middle of an unhealthy dynamic, an unhealthy family, an unhealthy relationship? You're in the middle of it and your intuition is trying to tell you something. So what do you notice, or what should you notice about yourself when your intuition is saying, hey, something's off here? The first thing is you feel kind of in the presence of that person, you feel kind of demeaned, you feel small, you feel unimportant. There's something about being in their space that makes you feel small. You feel unimportant, unloved, uncared for, misunderstood. Right? So that's when you know your intuition is telling you something. Maybe they're smiling at you. Maybe they're being nice to you. Maybe they're texting you nice things. Maybe their text sounds kind and friendly. But underneath the surface, maybe you're feeling condescended. Maybe you're feeling demeaned. Maybe you're feeling hurt. And maybe you're feeling smaller than a piece of dirt. And that may be a clear sign of what that person truly thinks of you. It's your intuition telling you something's not right here. They see me a certain way. I had a client once say to me, I feel the way they see me. when I'm in their presence. I feel the way they see me when I'm in their presence. And that is such a wise statement, you know, because I truly believe that you can feel the way that another person perceives you. And that's when you know your intuition is kicking on. Another sign that your intuition is trying to tell you something is when you're outside of that presence of that family member, that person, that relationship, you feel totally exhausted. Have you ever heard of emotional vampires? They suck the life out of you. You know, you're trying to communicate with them and be present and be engaged, and you're just tired. They're sucking the life out of you. You know, that's how you know your intuition is working. You're sensing something under the surface. Again, they may come across as very pleasant, and very engaging, kind, but you're just feeling just exhausted when they leave. That's intuition trying to tell you something. You know, you may also sense a very uncomfortable presence underneath the surface, right? There's some kind of seething envy. There's some seething anger. There's something seething under the surface, right? You know, you can't really put your finger on it, but you kind of feel like that person doesn't feel like you matter, right? Or you feel that person seething anger even though they're smiling at you and talking to you. That's your intuition talking to you. You know, you may also start to feel kind of, what's the word? Almost ignored, right? You can talk to somebody and it almost sounds, or I'll put it this way, it almost feels like the person's not listening because technically they're not listening. That's your intuition again saying, hello, I'm working. You know, you're talking to this person and you just feel unheard. Not that they're misunderstanding you. So let me clarify this. You don't feel unheard because they're misunderstanding you. You don't feel unheard because they're ignoring you. They may be nodding, they may be smiling, giving you eye contact, and they may be just like this listening to you, and you still feel unheard. And that's a sign. Your intuition is telling you this person's not really getting me, they're not hearing me. So you may feel unheard even though it looks like they're listening. I had a client one time come into therapy with me and they said, thank you so much, Tamara, for being a great listening therapist. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. And then she dropped this on me. She says, because the last therapist I had would nod and say, mm-hmm, and I see, and oh, is that true? And things like that. We call those attending behaviors. That's what we call them. So she would do all of that, my client said. And then she said, I would walk out of that office, close the door, and feel like she didn't get me. She didn't get me. So, you know, you may feel that way as well. Going into an environment, a relationship, or being in that person's presence, you may feel uneasy. That is intuition again. Okay, I think we know that, but I wanted to bring that back up. And the mind-body connection kind of gets stimulated. So here's what I mean. Sometimes intuition is saying, hey, I'm trying to tell you something. When you get muscle tension being in the presence of someone, or being in a relationship and wanting to get out of it, or being in an unhealthy marriage, you kind of carry that weight, right? Or being in an unhealthy, toxic family dynamic, you carry that weight, right? So your body may have muscle tension. You may get a lot of headaches. You may notice that your headaches are either, what do they call them? Occipital headaches. So they're back here, or maybe it's tension headaches, which tends to happen around here. And that may happen being with that person, being in their environment, being in that family circle, that family reunion, for example. Your body is telling you that I am connected to your mind and something is wrong in this picture. So the mind-body connection gets stimulated. I've even had situations where some of my clients say, I went to a family reunion and I had to run and go vomit. I had to go, sorry, it's TMI, but this is what a client said to me. In the past, I had to run and go to the toilet and just everything came up because my body, I was just holding on to so much tension and anxiety being in the midst of my unstable family all over again, right? It was like taking her mind back to being an abused child. And so her mind-body connection was kicking in, and that was a sign her intuition was at play. And of course, your intuition comes into play when you feel like, I need to end this conversation. I need to end this encounter. I need to end this relationship. I need to end this, whatever this is. It has to go. And that's when you know your intuition is telling you something. Okay, let me go back to the chat box. Let me see what you guys are saying. Andronics goes back to my comment about dirty looks. Goes back to Rochelle's comment as well and says dirty looks, aggression and control. Yes. So dirty looks are known as passive aggressive behaviors. They're passive. Even though it's a direct I don't like you, right? It's still passive aggressive because a person can change their dirty look in a second, and they can smile at you just so the person over there can think they're being nice, right? And there's no way to prove that their dirty look is harmful because that person can always say, I didn't even know I was giving you that look, I'm so sorry, right? So dirty looks are very passive aggressive. I hate them. I really do. Yeah, temporary says, my intuition was always my guidance. Absolutely. Mine too. Mine too. Mine too. And I may have said this at the beginning of the live chat, guys, that a very good therapist doesn't just rely on science, doesn't just rely on research. We rely on intuition as well, because that's a very human, innate, part of who we are. We can't ignore this piece of who we are and flip books all day long and quote research and numbers and statistics. Like, that's not healing. There has to be something here that's connecting you with that client. So a good therapist, a good therapist uses both intuition and knowledge. We call that the art and science of psychology. The art of psychology is the intuition, and the science of psychology is the science. It's the numbers, the statistics, all of that good stuff. Okay. Oh, yeah. Awake and Peaceful says clairvoyance is a beautiful thing. Yeah, absolutely. Can be. Josie Salinas Jr. Hello, or Jose, I should say. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. If not, forgive me. But welcome to the chat. Says, my wife and I have had to cut all ties from my mother 2 years ago, as she has tried to ruin our marriage since the start. Now going on 14 years. Wow. So sorry to hear that. You would think some people would say, you know what, going on 14 years, I might as well just give up. Like, they're going to be together forever. So why am I even doing this, It's just not good. Andronic says, ignoring the bad made me feel like I was bad. Absolutely. And that's intuition again. It's saying something is wrong here, and I keep ignoring the bad pieces of this relationship, this family dynamic, and now I feel horrible. That's intuition. It's tapping you on the shoulder. Hey, something's going on. Something, you need to listen to me, Okay. Stephanie E says, when I started educating myself on dysfunctional dynamics and manipulation tactics, which helped me sharpen my intuition, my feeling for a lot of people changed. Absolutely. Knowledge. So here's what's interesting. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Stephanie E. Here's what's interesting. Knowledge is foundational, right? We develop that first. Then we develop intuition over time through life experience and maturity and spirituality and wisdom and all that kind of good stuff. But here's what's interesting about it. If you teach yourself and open your mind to education, like you did, Stephanie, through books and maybe radio shows and maybe audiobooks and research studies and articles and blogs and all of that stuff, YouTube videos, your intuition can grow because your knowledge supports your intuition. And so that's why for really good clinicians, and I keep highlighting that because every therapist is not good, as you guys probably know, but for really good clinicians, we have to have so many years of school. I went to school for 10 years, and I'm still made to keep up with all my certifications and all my licensing through education. I still have to take courses that are 12 hours long, and take courses that adds up to so many hours a year. We develop all that knowledge, and we jump into the mental health field with that knowledge with little to no intuition, and then we don't know what we're talking about, or we misdiagnose, or we're not as good as we had hoped, or maybe the field is confusing to us, or maybe we lack knowledge in an intuitive sense, so we get confused. intuition is a very important piece of being a therapist. You can't just have the book knowledge. You fail every time. Book knowledge, as you guys know, has a limit. It's the same thing for you guys. When you're in a dysfunctional family, reading books, going to YouTube, it's all great and everything. It's wonderful in its place, but you have to have that intuitive piece of everything. It cements everything. It really does. Okay, let me keep going, guys. Yeah, Rochelle is agreeing with me when she says dreams guide you. Yeah, yeah, they do. Oh, geez, I just messed up everything. Hold on, guys. Yeah, Cherry's Jubilee says hearing is not listening. I agree. Oh God, I'm gonna mess this up. I do not know how to pronounce this. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that. One Love says, Don't ignore when you can't put your finger on it. Stay back, away from that person, and pay attention. The facts, the truth will present themselves. Yeah, I agree with that. Once you feel your intuition saying, hey, something's wrong here, I do agree. You need to step back and say, okay, let's reassess this. And sometimes stepping back may be taking a break from that person, or taking a moment's time to process what just happened or what has been happening, you know? Sergio Garcia Martinez, hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you as well. I'm going to keep going. Designer Guy, hello, welcome to the chat. Says, my father used me last year to get his finances into order. As soon as I did that, he started dating his mistress of 35 years. Oh my Lord. Woo. Yikes. Okay, I'm just gonna say that's I don't even have a word. It's sociopathic, if you ask me. You tell me, designer guy. It's kind of sociopathic. Um, Helen D. Salsa, hopefully I said that correctly. Welcome to the chat. Glad to see you. Says, I think I am the problem, not my family. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's like a statement that requires a whole 60-minute session, because we could pull that apart. We really could. But if you feel that you are the problem and not your family, and that's an intuitive sense, then that may be something to explore, just a little further. Sometimes we know, sometimes we just know. Okay, I'm going to keep looking. Hold on, guys. Peace, please. Hello, welcome to this chat. Welcome to the chat. Says, gift of discernment from God. Yes, I very much agree. Very much agree. Okay, I'm still reading, guys. I want to make sure I get all of you. Um, Colibri Flyer, hopefully that's correct. Welcome to the chat. Glad to have you as well. Says, do narcs go to separate vacations? I know of this young supposed to be boyfriend girlfriend. The guy left by himself today. I just don't want to be nosy, but I noticed. Do narcs go to separate vacations? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I would need more, you know what I mean, to give you an answer on that one. I have no idea. I have no idea. That's an interesting observation, though. Okay. Yeah. Randy L says intuition is the gut, the second brain. I agree with that. I agree very much. Um, Okay, I think Deb has a really good intuition, because somehow you recognized I couldn't make out how to pronounce this or something. So Deb, I'm gonna try it the way you tell me. Okay, let's try this. A matter hater, Jose. I got Jose, and the other screen name is a matter hatter. A matter hatter. I better have gotten this, Deb, because you're good. You're good. Now that's intuition. Because I didn't even say I couldn't pronounce it. I just said I'm coming back to you later. So that's pretty good, Deb. Okay, let me keep going. Designer guy says, I hope not sociopathic, talking about his father, but I'm the other hand, but on the other hand, he did delay me getting to the hospital on purpose as I was in great pain once. Definitely sadistic. Yeah. Sounds like he's got some personality stuff going on for sure. Okay, I'm okay, I'm gonna address this because I don't want any of you guys to feel this way on this live chat that we're getting ready to wrap up in like 1 minute. I'm Demon Wolf, okay? I think that says a lot in the name. But I'm Demon Wolf says, as soon as I heard God, y'all lost me. I mean, I don't think that that should be something that you should walk away from. Use your intuition, say, well, maybe I need to stick around and listen to this because maybe this will help me understand what happens inside of me. Maybe this is some kind of knowledge that I need to really be connected to. And there are certain educational programs I tune into, and I'm like, okay, I don't agree with that, but I'm going to keep listening because maybe there's some other things that I can pull from this, right? So just something to think about. Yeah, yes, absolutely, Deb. Thank you. Yep. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. Oh, yes. Cherry Jubilee says atheists are the best of people. Yeah, they're interesting. I mean, I welcome any and everybody who wants to talk to me and challenge me and whatever, because I think that's where we learn. And I think that's where love can best be found, if that makes sense. But what I don't like is when an unbeliever or somebody who's angry or somebody who doesn't believe in God kind of tramples upon everybody else's hope, right? So I'm with you, Cherish Jubilee. I agree. Okay. So, okay, I'm going to keep going, guys. Yes. Daima says, I'm sorry too for people who feel restricted by narcissistic people and their unreasonable reactions. Yeah, yeah. Unreasonable is putting it lightly. Okay. All right, guys. Temporary says, I'm agnostic. I think preaching about God could be a waste of energy. I think it's healthier to just let God work its way somewhere inside you rather than preach about God. It does nothing. Yeah, sometimes that is the best way to deal with trying to understand or being in a ram where somebody mentions God, right? Whether you're agnostic or atheist or whatever it may be, you have to be able to tolerate other people's beliefs, and that's really what this boils down to: tolerance, right? Or at least it seems that way to me. I could be wrong. Okay. All right, guys. I think, yeah, absolutely, Deb. I agree with that one too. Yep, yep. Okay. I think I gave you everything on this topic, and we're like 3 minutes over time. So I think we did it tonight, guys. I think we did. I enjoy reading your comments and everything. I really appreciate how you guys engage and you talk and all of that. Like, I really love how you guys engage on my channel. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for engaging and sharing and doing all of the communicating that you do. That gets my subscribers to a certain number of people, so I appreciate you for that. So I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I will see you hopefully Sunday. I'm going to post a video on Sunday. I'm going to rest. um, Thank you so much, Randy L, for saying that. I appreciate you guys too. I hope you have a safe and relaxing weekend. I'll see you real soon. Okay, bye bye.